It is your Wednesday daily delivery. I am Michael Rand. Happy to be back for another day. Hope everybody's having a great day out there today. Really good show coming up for you today. Velle E. Neal III, Star Tribune columnist, will join me here in just a little while. Our daily delivery debate. In focus today, some juicy topics. We are grading J.J. McCarthy on his first 4 games this season. I wasn't very kind. Lavelle was even less kind. So stick around for that. We will also try to sort out the NFC North, try to rank the 4 teams. You could just look at the records and do one thing. We're going to look at it a little bit differently to a certain degree. So we're going to look at that in a little while and talk Timberwolves with Lavelle, kind of making sense of their 7-4 start, which has included some good news of late, but also playing some poor opponents, which is contributing to their success. You can only play who's on your schedule. I get it, but I don't think we know yet who they are. So more on that with Lavelle here in a little bit, and definitely more on that tomorrow, Thursday show featuring John Krasinski of The Athletic, a deeper look at the Timberwolves. Get to some other NBA stuff at the end of the show, but I got a bunch of stuff at the outset. So let's start out with what did I miss? We're going to start with Gopher women's basketball. I wrote I think it was last week or 2 weeks ago. I wrote about how this market, I think it was last week, this market is better off when the Gophers in both men's and women's basketball are relevant. And I feel like Dawn Plitza-White, now in her 3rd year, has had the Gopher women's team inching towards relevance. I think they've made the postseason twice in a row, but it's been, lesser tournaments. It's been the WNIT, WBIT, the kind of the second and third tier tournaments. They're still trying to break through, get back to the NCAA tournament where they haven't been, I believe, since 2018. I think that was Marlene Stallings last year. Then Lindsay Whalen comes in. That doesn't quite work out. They don't go to the tournament. They haven't made it either the last 2 years. They haven't been consistently really good either since Stallings kind of had it going. She went to the tournament twice, but you got to go back to the 2000s when they were making the tournament all the time, when it was just an expectation that they were going to be good every year, to the point where they were a super relevant team in this market, drawing fans, getting the attention at the beginning of the year. Maybe this is the team that is going to make us pay attention even more. They play last night. They beat Marquette, a pretty good Big East team by all accounting, a team that finished 4th in the Big East last year, won 21 games, went 12-6 in conference play. That's not good enough for an NCAA tournament bid. The Big East is not a great women's basketball conference, but they were a good team last season. They brought back a lot of players to this year's team. They were picked 2nd in the Big East this year behind UConn. Always going to be picked 1 over UConn, but 2nd in the Big East this season over everybody else. So they're expected to be a really good team. Gophers beat them 90-47 last night. 90-47. A balanced effort all around. Grace Kochalski had, I think, 19. They just got scoring all over the lineup, made it look easy. So, they beat up on some lesser teams to start the year, doing what they're supposed to do. Marquette is more of a program that you should say is kind of on par with where you would think the Gophers are, right? A really good Big East team is probably on par with what might be the 6th or 7th best team in the Big Ten. That might be what the Gophers are. There's a lot of good teams in the Big Ten. There's a lot of great teams in the Big Ten. I'm not saying they should win the Big Ten championship or anything like that this season, but this is a year where they probably should be in the NCAA tournament, starting to ascend even more. That was the first opportunity we had to say, okay, where are they at this moment? You win by 43 over what's supposed to be a pretty good Big East team. That gets my attention, probably should get your attention. So more to come on that program as time goes on. The Wild lost in overtime to San Jose. That has been a common refrain for them. For San Jose, the record now 7-7-4. Really going to call that 7-11. I hate that kind of differentiation of losses, even if it does give you that extra point. You know what? They give you a win if you win in overtime or a shootout. It just goes into regular column, so why don't we do it the regular way for the losses as well? You get a point, that's fine, but I feel like they've kind of regrouped a little bit from that really bad stretch, but still 7-7-4 it doesn't seem like they can put together a complete game all the time. They got on the board. They took the first lead of the game. San Jose tied it, I think, about midway through the third, and then they win in overtime. So Gus back in net. Philip Gustafson back in net last night was okay. I think the Wild outplayed the Sharks in this game. 2-1. You're not going to say the goalie was necessarily the problem, especially one goal in regulation, but probably a game they feel like they should have won or could have won. But a team that's maybe not quite firing on all cylinders is going to feel that way a lot of times in losses. So still kind of waiting to see 2 great weeks from them instead of just 2, okay, maybe they're starting to figure it out kind of weeks. Do they have 2 great weeks in them? Can they get back to, being not just like right on the fringe of the early playoff race, but can they get back into the spot where I think they thought they would be at the beginning of the year, a top 8 team in the league? They're not that right now. A top 8 team, in the West. They're not that right now. They're close. They're getting there. A lot of other teams kind of middling right now, kind of helping them out, but we haven't seen that sustained stretch from them. I think they're better right now than they were a week or 2 ago, but we still haven't seen them hit their kind of full throttle at this point. Final thing in the intro here, Grady Sizemore, hired by the Twins to coach a lot of things. I feel like in modern sports, everybody's got a specialty. He's going to coach outfielders, base running, and first base. That's a lot. It seems like a lot to me. But it's a good hire. He was a fantastic player when he was healthy, and a connection, obviously, to Derek Shelton, the Twins manager. Shelton was his hitting coach in Cleveland from, I believe, 2005 to 2009, which were not coincidentally maybe the best years of Sizemore's career. He was playing 162 games a year in a lot of cases, WAR of like 5 or 6 all of those years. Like, he was a tremendous young player before injuries kind of took over. He was very well rounded. He could hit for power. He could steal bases. He had he was up over 30 stolen bases one year. He was a Gold Glove winner. Like, this was a guy with all the tools. He will be a tremendous asset to this organization, I feel like. He had some managerial experience with the White Sox as an interim a couple of years ago. Gets here. You feel like he's got some good outside the organization, fairly young energy. I like that hire as, someone who's not just here and staying here. I feel like he's could probably be in good teaching mode if he can kind of transfer a lot of those skills that he was good at as a player to the Twins, and then kind of how they want to build out their roster. If they're a team that wants to run, this is a guy that knows how to steal bases, and they did that at the end of last year. I think they're going to keep doing that this year. They've given every indication they're going to. So starting to fill out that staff. I like the hires so far. I like LaTroy Hawkins as the bullpen coach. I like Grady Sizemore as the everything coach. And we'll see where player development gets them this year, because that is going to be such a key in 2026. It is daily delivery debate time with Velle E. Neal III. Lavelle, how you doing today?
All is well. Hope things are good with you.
I'm good. It's Vikings Bears week, so obviously we've got to get into some NFC North and Vikings talk at the outset here. Lavelle, JJ McCarthy's played 4 games, and they have been all over the map. It's been some great throws. It's been some off-target stuff. It's been turnovers, but also,
Did he actually throw a pass into the stands Sunday? I didn't see that.
I didn't see that either. But his accuracy is, again, I don't. It's 4 games in, but anyway, he's made a lot of great throws. He's made a lot of head scratching plays. That's kind of what you would expect for a guy who is this young and at this stage of his career. But if we can, Lavelle, let us today try to boil this down through 4 games, which used to be a quarter of the season. Now it's 4/17 of the season. Let's just say it's a quarter of a season, okay? Just for the simplicity of everything. I don't want to do, let's do simple fractions. Through a quarter of what used to be a season, what grade would you give JJ McCarthy?
D.
Woo!
D. He has not been average, right? He's been below average overall.
They're 2-2. That's average, but okay, go on.
Yeah, if you're talking about the team victories here, if you're talking about going the record, that's one thing, but that's predicated on how well the defense has played and other parts of the team has played. How many games has how much has JJ factored in those 2 wins? The fourth quarter in Chicago, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then the Detroit game, right?
Yeah.
So, it's commendable to go into Detroit and win. Detroit's a good team. they'll be in the final reckoning in the NFC when it's time
Yeah.
to go to the postseason and time to look at who's going to be the Super Bowl representative from that conference. But you look at some of the other things he has done. Um, the throwing. He reminds me right now of LaTroy Hawkins in his early years with the Twins before he became a cultured, experienced reliever. I was on the backfield in Fort Myers, and LaTory Hunter and Jock Jones are taking early BP, but like 5 days before the first official workout was due. And LaTroy was throwing batting practice to him, and they were mad at LaTroy because he was throwing too hard. And LaTroy's like, "That's the only speed I know," was hard. And that's why I think sometimes with some of JJ's throws, he's got the fastball, you know. And I think that's why he's selling throws over people's heads at times. I guess there's a rumor that he threw one pass and went in the stands. I didn't see that. I'm going to go back and look at the replay to be sure of that. So that would be an issue. But the other things with JJ, getting play calls in, getting guys lined up, getting the protections correct, whatever's going on with the cadence issue. I mean, 7 false starts.
8.
That's crazy.
8 false starts. Give him one more. Yeah.
Yeah. You've got cultured offensive linemen on that line that were false starting. So that part of it's got to be on the quarterback. So this is part of the growing pains of a young quarterback. You kind of see the benefits now of having a guy sit on the sideline for a year or two. Although it didn't help Jordan Love last night against Philadelphia. But Mahomes sitting for a year, Rodgers sitting on the side for 2-3 years.
3 years, yeah.
Yeah. And maybe, JJ not being able to be in uniform and doing things on the sideline last year, maybe they had something to do with it. But this kid's just 22 years old. He's got a lot of talent. He's got a coach who employs a demanding system that's layered and nuanced that he has to figure out. Yeah. It's going to take a while. I think the one thing we're all regretting at this point is predicting, because I think I predicted the Vikings would win 11 or 12 games at the beginning of the year. And that was just because I thought the defense would keep them on all these games.
Yep.
The defense has had some injuries. It has not been the rock star unit that it was consistently last year. And plus, we underestimated the fact that if you have a competent, the impact even a competent quarterback can have. I think Sam Darnold was above competent last year for most of the year until the last 2 years.
2 games, yeah.
That's 2 games. I apologize.
Okay.
It would have been nice to see with Daniel Jones this year. The question we're going to have, and it's probably a daily debate in a few weeks, is that should they have just let JJ sit a second year and brought one of those guys back? Because they're trying to win. The rest of the roster is built to try to win. But the most demanding position in sports is the quarterback position. And you're watching JJ go through the palpitations and ups and downs of trying to master that. So that's why right now it looks bad. I'm giving them a D.
You're right with Darnold because they're going to play the Seahawks in a few weeks. Darnold is, I think, number 1 in the Pro Football Focus grades right now. I think he might be number 1 still, too, in the ESPN total QBR. And a lot of us looked at last year and said, okay, he had a great year. He elevated them. How much of that was the system? And then those last 2 games, you're like, okay, you can't. If he's hit his ceiling, now we see his floor, and this isn't the guy who can take you to the next level. And they might still be right about that. I don't think there's any doubt. I don't think anybody can debate at this point that they wouldn't have been better off in the short term this year had they found a way to keep Sam Darnold. There's no debate. Like, he has been playing like one of the best quarterbacks this season, and I think it's fair to say the Vikings quarterback play this season has been among the worst. If you look at J.J. McCarthy's grade, if you look at Carson Wentz's grade, like, Wentz is one of the only quarterbacks in the NFL who has a worse Pro Football Focus grade than J.J. McCarthy. Yeah. I think D is fair. I'm going to grade him on a little bit of a curve. I'm going to give him a C- at this point because I think some of what has been laid out in front of him has been puzzling to me. He has the highest average depth of target. He's throwing the ball down the field almost 11 yards per attempt. I don't understand what's happening.
That's KLC's chunk play offense.
It is, but there's got to be a happy middle ground when you've got a guy who's sitting there waiting, doesn't quite see everything yet. Like, I feel like all the easy buttons or whatever you want to call it that they've put into this offense for him, those are like bubble screens and quick throws. That's not what I want. I want intermediate routes. I want 7 and 8 yard routes. I want TJ Hawkinson involved more. I just don't quite understand how they're game planning the pass game and how they're not running the ball more when that's what they said they wanted to do at the start of the year. So I think some of this is on the game planning and probably some of what he's not seeing. So I'm going to give him a little bit of a pass because I see it. You see it in moments. You see him making the throws. Some combination of he's got to figure it out a little bit more and fast, and them
Yeah.
kind of figuring out how to not simplify, but how to give him some throws that don't take as much time but still help his development.
Yeah, I will give KOC a little bit of break on that because of the injuries and personnel issues on the offensive line. TJ Hawkinson's had to stand and block and chip a few times, and that's affected his availability in the passing game.
Yeah.
But still, a couple times you've got to get him out there. You've got a pass catching tight end who's being paid a hell of a lot of money for production, and you're not getting it from him. I'd like to see that happen a little more often. I'd like to see a wheel route with a running back going out and catching passes a little bit more often. Jalen Naylor working across the middle a little bit as a slot receiver. There's things. And Jordan Addison, I went to a couple of practices before the season, and I thought that, JJ and Jordan Addison were almost simpatico with how they were operating together. And I don't know that that's transpired now that Naylor's not suspended anymore and JJ's on the field. So I do think KOC's got to dial up some different things for JJ because he does have a propensity. He wants that 20-yard gain. He wants that 25-yard gain. He wants to hit people, and you may have to jab a little bit with this offense before you start punching, throwing haymakers. And I think that will serve JJ well going forward.
We agree on that. We disagree a little bit on where we put all of it. Hey, question 2 is related. It's certainly related to Sunday's game. Look at the standings right now, Lavelle. You'll see Chicago right next to Detroit, above Green Bay, right, and then the Vikings down at number 4 in the standings. The standings are one thing. How do you sort in terms of what you think of these teams right now at, again, the approximate midpoint? There's no midpoint unless you say the halftime of game 9. We were talking about this before we started recording. There's going to be 18 games at some point, and then we'll finally have a midpoint game. But how do you grade the NFC North? How do you re-rank it at this point?
Yeah, next time we'll take this podcast at halftime of game 9.
There you go. Except it's different for every team because the buys don't even line up. So
yeah, it's true. That's right. We had a discussion about that too. We got to fix the buys.
Got to fix all of it. We'll fix it later.
I'm still got Detroit as the number 1 team in the division. I think they're the most talented. I find it interesting that Dan Campbell's calling offensive plays now. I wonder if he's secretly calling Ben Johnson during the week, going, "Hey, what was that play you ran for this situation?" Trying to get that on track. There's too much great talent on that roster, not for it to be more productive offensively, but still, overall, it's a damn good roster. Real talented teams. Jahmyr Gibbs was a dominant force against Washington. I guess he does have one wart in that he's not great in pass protection, and maybe that's where David Montgomery comes in as value. But you got Sam Laporta, Aiden Hutchinson's healthy. It's a good defense. It's just too good of a team not to have them anywhere ranked other than first in the division. My second team would be the Green Bay Packers. Unfortunately, I do think that as much as I hate the Packers and I want them to fail miserably of everything they do, I do like Josh Jacobs. I think Love is functional. I don't think he's a great quarterback. I think we saw that again yesterday. I keep hearing all this crap about how great Jordan Love is in prime time. Well, you keep running that replay of him trying to throw the ball when it's not even in his hand and tell me how good of a quarterback he is. He's got decent receivers now. Unfortunately, Tucker Kraft is injured, but Musgrave's not bad either. He's a talented tight end, and the defense is loaded. Micah Parsons is a game disruptor. I mean, the people were claiming that you could run at Micah because he's always trying to run up the field. That didn't work, and that was what the best running back the second best running back of football. Jonathan Taylor's the best running back of football right now. I would put Barkley maybe second or third in that list.
Bijan Robinson's in there too.
Bijan's up there too. But other than catching that one, it wasn't really a screen. It was kind of just he kind of leaked out into the flat and caught a pass and turned it into like a 45-yard game. Other than that, he really wasn't that dominant with his legs on Monday night. So you got to get credit where credit's due. The Packers are a good team. It's a damn good roster. I do think in the end, Jordan Love's going to fail them miserably. He's going to hurt them when it means the most. But right now, you have to have Green Bay in second place. My third place team would be the Minnesota Vikings.
Ooh.
Despite having a rookie a guy in his rookie season, basically, the red shirt quarterback, JJ McCarthy's ups and downs. It's still a quality defense. You still have one of the best receivers in football in Justin Jefferson. The two-headed monster at running back, Aaron Jones, and
Jordan Mason.
Jordan Mason, I think, is effective. Aaron has actually looked great since he's come back from his injury.
I agree. He looks fresh.
I just think it's a good team. They're lacking consistency at the quarterback spot. I know that's a big spot. That's a big spot to have, but I like the rest of the roster. Going into Detroit and beating Detroit is a big feather in their cap. And that's why I have them third over the Chicago Bears, who have not beaten anybody. They have not had one quality victory yet this year. They're
6-3 though. Your Bears are in first place. They're 6-3.
Beating the lowly Raiders. They've beaten the lowly lowly Commanders. They beat a horrible defense in Cincinnati, and they won last week. They won on Sunday against a Giants team, which they were going to lose that game until Jackson Dart got injured. Yeah. I'm surprised they fired Dable, knowing that they had to try to win that game with the skeletal remains of Russell Wilson on the field in the fourth quarter, and Dable gets fired because of that. I thought that was a little harsh, but the Bears haven't had not one quality win yet this year. They got a lot of injuries in the secondary. They've got injuries to the linebacking core. They need a left tackle. They had the worst left tackle situation in the division. Caleb's gotten better through all this. Yeah, he's a better quarterback than a year ago. He's making better decisions. He drives me at the wall when his first evasive move is that damn spin move when you're taking your eyes off the field to twirl around and try not to get tackled. But I think they actually should dial up a couple like Lamar Jackson type runs for him. He is 230 pounds, so he's not a small guy.
Right.
And he can probably take some of that pounding. By the way, Caleb Williams is just the third Bears quarterback to make 25 consecutive starts. The last one was like Bob Avellini, and the other one was like in the 40s.
Bob Avellini.
Yes. Wow. So the Bears have issues, man. And so based on power rankings right now, I'm going Lions, Packers, Vikings, Bears.
It's hard, right? Because I think you're right. They haven't beaten anybody, but at a certain point, you are what your record is, and I don't feel like the Vikings have taken advantage of they didn't take advantage, certainly, of the part of their schedule where they needed to take more advantage. They lost at home to the Falcons. They lost in Europe to the Steelers, who I think we're seeing the reality of what they are. Aaron Rodgers is not a very good quarterback anymore. There were winnable home games against the Eagles and Ravens, who I don't think were playing their best when they caught them, and they just didn't do enough. I gotta put the Bears ahead of the Vikings. I think Lions, Packers, Bears is right at this point. I think Sunday's game is a battle for number 3. I think they're very similar right now. I think the Bears have a very good chance to finish with a better record than the Vikings do this year, just because the Vikings' remaining schedule is hard. So is the Bears, though. You're looking at it. You got Packers a couple times in there. You got to play the Lions again. You got
the Bears' last 5 games.
Eagles.
They're going to lose. They're going to lose at least 4 of them. All right, because
49ers.
It goes Packers, Browns, Packers, 49ers, Lions.
It does. Yes, it does.
How many now? The last time the Bears played the Packers, they won. They actually won at Lambeau last year, which is forgotten. But there's a trophy in Allery's that's sitting there from that game. So, is it possible that the Bears could win one of those Packer games? It is. But to me, 2 and 3 over the last 5 games is going to be the best they can do. 1 of 4 is more realistic. The Viking schedule is going to get tougher as well. So I just think the Vikings are a little bit better than the Bears right now.
Well, we'll see. We'll see what happens in the end with all of that. Hey, final thing, Lavelle. Timberwolves is our last subject for the day. What do we know about them yet? Are they starting to figure it out, or are they just playing bad teams? Kind of like the Bears, right? Are they what do we trust them yet, or do we need to see more when they actually play good competition?
I think playing bad teams has allowed them to figure out some things. I like what Julius Randle's doing right now. He's more assertive on offense, and Ant could use a credible second scorer. Jay McDaniels was trying to be a little more offensive minded, which
Hmm.
we've been talking about that with him for like the last 4 years. He hasn't
Yes.
become more of an offensive guy, more of a two-way player. Is not quite there yet, but it's getting better. So,
Yep.
um, I don't know what they're going to do with point guard long term. Um, my my theory is this, but I'm biased because I'm a Chicago Bulls fan. I
Hmm.
don't know if the Wolves necessarily need a point guard. I don't know if they need Rob Dillingham to suddenly play like he's got 5 years of experience. I think they need a John Paxson, someone who can just play along Anthony Edwards when he drives and starts doing his acrobatic crap at the rim. He could dish it out to a Paxson type guy who's going to drain the three,
Yeah.
and he could exist that way. I think. I
So
think
who
that
so
would.
who is that guy? They don't have that. I don't know if that guy's on their roster right now.
No, it's not on the roster. They'd have to
Okay.
go find a guy, which is better than having to go find a point guard. And that's my that's what I'm asserting right now. But I think they are playing better. I think they needed the stretch here to get right a little bit and figure out how they're going to win games because every year stands alone as to how it unfolds and how your team plays. And I think you've got to figure out what you have and how you're playing before you proceed. I think Finch has got to figure this out with his rotation. It's too bad that TJ uh, that it still bugs me that people call him TJ because he's Terrence Shannon. It should
Terrence
be
Shannon
TS.
Jr. Yes.
But it's the
Yes.
junior
Yes,
thing.
I
I
know.
know it's weird. These kids and their
So
nicknames,
he's got
but
like he's got a bone bruise on his small toe.
yeah, and his pinky, yeah, and his
Mm.
pinky toe.
Mm.
So he's got that to overcome. I want to see more of that. But they played the Utah Jazz team. Walker Kessler's out for the year. And so Markin is not there, right? Laurie Markin is somewhere
He
else
played.
now.
He played. Now Markkinen played.
Yeah, okay. Someone left the Utah Jazz last year. I can't remember, but I think they needed this spot, and they're playing better. Ant's healthy now; he's back in the mix,
Hmm.
so you got to take advantage of this here to get right. And I think that's what they're doing right now.
I've just something about him feels off to me, but it did last year at the beginning of the season, and then they found their way, 2/3 of the way in, and they still made the conference finals. Maybe we're just spoiled. I'm kind of bored with the start of this Wolves year. I don't know why. I don't something about I watch them play, and I'm just like, like I don't know what it is. Like it's like back-to-back conference finals. And maybe they're spoiling us too much right now with how good they've been. It doesn't feel the same as it did a few years ago when they were kind of on the up. Right now, they're trying to maintain, and I think that's a hard spot to be. But I do think they look a little bit better now. Maybe we have fretted about the demise of Rudy Gobert a little bit too much. Maybe he's going to be okay. Point guard is still an issue. I like your idea about someone to just play next to Ant. The only thing I worry about that is like sometimes when the ball is in his hands, he tries to go too
Get
much into
sticky,
hero mode and doesn't do the
yeah,
thing that he needs
it
to
gets
do.
sticky
Get sticky,
as
yes.
Chris Finch likes to say,
Yes, it
sticky.
does. It
So,
does.
but that's the thing. The Ant's got to work out too. He's got to
Yep.
understand he's got a quality scoring forward in God damn, why
Julius
can't I think of
Randle.
in Julius Randle and a room runner in Gobert that
Yep.
has to be fed. You got to let the big man eat once in a
Yep.
while.
Yep.
So that's something that Ant has to work on. So now after beating Utah, they come home. They play Sacramento. Oh, they're
Hmm.
home in Denver.
Hmm.
Oh, home in Dallas.
Yeah.
Okay, so they got Denver, Dallas coming up here. Those are gonna be a little bit of testers. They play Sacramento like 3 times in the span
Yeah.
of.
Sacramento's bad. I don't know what they're doing this year, but they are bad. So this part of the schedule is soft. I don't
I don't
feel like we're
know.
going to learn about them much in this stretch.
I
But
don't
they
know
got to
about
beat
that
a good
De'Aaron
team.
Fox trade. That De'Aaron Fox trade. I don't know if it's working out for him.
No. I think they got to figure this out. I got to see them beat a good team before I'm going to have a better impression of them, I guess is what
and
I'm
they're at
trying to say.
OKC the day before
Well,
Thanksgiving.
that'll be a tester. That'll be maybe we'll learn more when they play Denver and OKC. I'm just not learning much by watching them beat up on Brooklyn and
Right,
Utah and Sacramento. I'm not, you got to play who's on the schedule. They're winning those games. Good for them.
right.
I just don't think I know enough about them yet. All right.
Hey, remember it was recently at the Wolves who cough up a lung against someone like cough up a lung like someone against like Detroit.
Yeah.
Like how did they lose to Detroit?
Yeah.
By the way, they're getting better. Cade Cunningham is
Detroit's
a
good
baller.
too. Yeah, they can play. They
Yeah.
had another comeback win against the Wizards the other night. They are on fire. We're on fire, but we got to stop. Lavelle, appreciate it. We'll do it again next week.
Sounds like a plan, sir. Thank you.
Great stuff from Lavelle. I don't think a D or a C minus for JJ McCarthy so far is too harsh. That's just we're grading what he's done, not what he can become. I don't think that's unfair. I don't think he's been all that good so far. Doesn't mean I don't think he can be good going forward. It just means some of the things you've seen so far, you got a lot of stuff to clean up, but he's got a lot of time to do it. He's only played 4 games. He's got 8, presumably the rest of the year if he stays healthy, starting Sunday against the Bears. And like we said, they can win that game. They'll be back to 500 and they'll be 3-0 in the division. That helps conference record too, trying to stay in the playoff mix. That's not the most important thing this season. I think we can tell this isn't a Super Bowl team. I think we can tell that at this point. But winning games still matters. Being competitive still matters. Not at the expense of his development, but still, those things do matter. Let's finish with the cooler. Lavelle and I talked a lot of Wolves. One thing struck me, the West is interesting right now. I think I focused a lot on who's above the Wolves right now. Like Oklahoma City, defending champs, they look dynamite again. They've only lost once all season. Wembanyama's Spurs are tremendous. They're 8-2. The Nuggets feel like they finally have some depth built up around Jokic. They're dangerous. The Lakers, without LeBron, have been off to a scintillating start as well. So there's a lot of teams up there. Wolves in 6th right now, which feels about right. One team that got off to an extremely hot start that I thought was going to be really in the mix at the end of the year, and maybe they still will be, but the Warriors have fallen on hard times. They started out 5-1, 1-5 since then. Draymond Green calling them out for what he thinks is kind of a lack of focus on winning, individual agendas, things like that. Maybe it's just a blip. They're a veteran team. They've been on the road a lot, compressed schedules, things like that, probably hurting them right now. But that's a team that I thought was going to be top 4. If they're not top 4, that is very helpful to the Wolves' cause as things go along. That'll do it for me today. Like I said, plenty of Wolves talk coming up tomorrow, too, with John Krasinski from The Athletic. First time on this show for him. Excited to have him on. Until then, I am Michael Rand. Have a great rest of your Wednesday. Back at it again tomorrow.